Penthouse volume is the volume that they hear, the audience hears. Go to the next one, that arrow. It's at the arrow in the middle. Podium, you know what the podium is. Yeah, we only have 1 minutes last month. Don't get used to it.
When like,
There'll be 5.
when was it? Yeah, was it last month? We had like 15 different.
Yeah, because we had to do a special meeting and then the closed session. We had to do
Yeah.
one for each topic. And so you had all the.
They haven't told me if they're going to
You know what that is.
close yet.
You know what the delay is.
I like it.
It's supposed to be a 30-day notice.
Get used to it. I mean, it's not.
That would be it.
I'll say that. It just come.
And the stream. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I don't think it holds the charge quite as good as that.
out there.
Well, mine got to where it wasn't, but I mean, I'm talking about when it first issued.
I know, so it's all right.
Yeah. I was gonna like this, you know, I bought. I put this on. Michael got him to us a couple months ago.
Yeah, it made me a little note here. So
Because, yeah, it's what do they call it, yoga. Yeah, you flip it over and it comes down and ask you. Now you think this is going to get special something from you, doesn't it?
Thank you,
Come in.
Mark. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and we welcome you to the June meeting of the Randolph County Board of Commissioners. And if you've noticed, we're full house. Whatever's normal, whatever's allowed, what we've been doing for years here, meeting in the old historic courthouse, we're back to normal meeting times, and we're glad that we have room and opportunity for all of you to participate in our agenda tonight, whatever portion that you have an interest in, or just here tonight to participate in county government and see how we conduct business in the affairs of government that affects your life. We still say welcome to our folks at home who are watching on Facebook or YouTube. I hope you can notice we have made some adjustments to the camera so that we're a little closer to you. We're a little easier to see. I caught a glimpse at one of our earlier meetings, and it looked like we're a half a mile away on the camera. So we've got a new camera tonight. We want to thank Michael and his crew for enabling us to come a little bit closer to the folks that are continuing to watch from home. We will continue with our virtual meetings and have opportunity for folks to stay at home and watch county government from their home or wherever they might choose. So we thank you for that, and all of you for your attention, your attendance tonight. I do want to recognize Louis Dorsett, who's Mayor Pro Tem of Archdale, with us tonight. I think most of you probably know that Mayor Stone has announced her retirement as the mayor of Archdale, so there'll be some changes underway up there. And Louis is a longtime member of the Archdale City Council, and thank him for being in our audience tonight also. And for all of you, you're all special, and we thank you every week, every month for your interest in county government and being a part of it. We have some special recognitions tonight that this is a very fun time for us as we recognize folks who give of their time to make life easier and better for the citizens of Randolph County. So thank you again and welcome to our June meeting. Reverend Mike Mabe is here tonight to do our invocation. Following the invocation, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. So will you all please stand?
Let me say I consider it a privilege and an honor to be here with you folks tonight. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you right now, Lord, asking you to bless this meeting. We thank you for this board. Lord, as your word tells us that we should pray for those in authority. God, I thank you for their families and their life of service, their sacrifices, Lord, that they've made to supply the people of this county. Lord, I pray now that you'd give them wisdom and knowledge. Lord, that you'd keep your hedge about us, your hand upon us, your spirit within us. And Father, everything that you do and say through these folks and through us, we'll give you the praise, honor, and glory for all that's done. We ask it all in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Please be seated. We're going to start tonight with some special recognitions, our Governor's Service Awards, and Elizabeth Mitchell again is with us tonight this year to do the presentations, and I'm going to ask each commissioner to join us out front so that we can also express our appreciation to these folks as well.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good evening, Darrell. Good evening, family of Randolph County. It is so good to be back and see your faces without masks, may I just say. So I think we all deserve a round for that, yes? All right. So we are here this evening to celebrate some very special folks here in Randolph County who give their time and talent to our organizations that keep our organizations going in Randolph County. So first of all, I'm going to ask the individual to step forward, and I'm going to tell you all the wonderful things that he or she does for this community. First, I'd like to ask Ed Collins if he would come up, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ed, although it could take a few pages because he has done a tremendous amount here in Randolph County. Ed became a Randolph Health volunteer on August 8th, 212, and has a lifetime total of 2,000 volunteer hours. Ed is a man of integrity, courage, knowledge, and thankfulness. He has volunteered in many Randolph Health critical volunteer staff trainings. He has served as a mentor to redesign the volunteer annual education modules for use online and for folks who are less tech-savvy volunteers. When Randolph Health began cataract eye surgeries in the main hospital, he developed a procedure to better streamline the process of supporting patients and a role in recruiting and training additional volunteers needed. His commitment to the coordination and streamlining of volunteers' utilization increases patient satisfaction. Communication to families allows staff to concentrate on clinical patient needs. He has excellent management skills and extraordinary people skills and applies them to benefit the hospital and patients alike. He has proven to be a tremendous asset to the volunteer program at Randolph Health. Ladies and gentlemen, Ed Collins. Thank you, sir. Let's give Ed another round of applause. His wonderful service. Thank you. The next individual we're going to recognize is Gail Hancock. Gail, if you would come forward. Gail volunteers in the outpatient center at Randolph Health. She began volunteering October 29th, 2014, and has 2,866 lifetime hours of volunteering, primarily in the outpatient care. She meets and greets incoming patients and escorts patients throughout the hospital. She greets visitors with her warmth and welcomes and provides them direction as needed. She communicates to waiting families where they can obtain personal service and answers questions they may have. She assists with the discharge of all outpatients. She keeps the waiting area clean and tidy, and cleans wheelchairs after each use. She has excellent interpersonal skills and helps train new volunteers. She is often asked to do extra things beyond her normal duties and is always willing to do what is needed. The outpatient center is always busy, and COVID has created particular challenges, with higher emphasis on sanitation. Extra time is spent keeping the areas and equipment clean. COVID has kept some volunteers at home. However, she has helped fill large gaps in the volunteer schedule. Her generosity and commitment have been a huge asset to Randolph County and to our community. Thank you. Yeah. Let's give Gail another round of applause. Thank you. And our next volunteer has a very special place in my heart. I have known this lady since I moved to Randolph County, and now I'm a real resident because I've been here for 18 years. I'm going to ask Betty Hunt to come forward, if you may. And I'm going to say that Betty took me under her wing when I moved here, so I have very special feelings for her. Anyway, let me tell you about Betty. Betty Hunt is a dedicated volunteer for the Randolph Senior Adults Association. The time and commitment she has given RSAA has spanned decades. She has served as a variety of leadership roles. She has served on the board of directors and is currently an active ex officio member. She has served on the planning committee for annual fundraisers, helped to raise thousands of dollars for senior programs and services. She also leads outreach efforts at Cedar Grove United Methodist Church, where she works to organize programs and reaches hundreds of local seniors. She serves as a delegate to the North Carolina Senior Tar Heel legislation, a role she has held for 20 years. From 2009 to 2011, she served as its speaker. Her compassion and dedication embody the mission of Randolph County Senior Adults. There is no more dedicated to Randolph Senior Adults core foundation or the kindness required to inspire our local community. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Betty Hunt. Let's give Betty another round of applause. Our next volunteer we are going to honor is Kimberly Phillips. Kimberly, if you would please come forward. Kimberly was previously director of the Service of the Armed Forces for the American Red Cross. Now she brings 34 years of experience to her current role as a team leader of Red Cross volunteers, providing casework services to current and veteran military personnel and their families. Her team responds to hundreds of calls a year. Her casework is exceptional, and her clients praise her for her compassion. Her years of experience and knowledge of military and community resources make her the go-to person for all those difficult financial cases. She was one of those leaders who created the original organization and plan of how to address casework in this region. Their approach was recognized as best practices for handling casework nationwide. 2 years ago, the national organization recognized the team as best in the nation. In addition to her work with Red Cross, she is the primary caregiver for her elderly mother and participates in many community volunteer activities. She led food drives for hospice, open door ministries, community outreach of Archdale Trinity. She is also active in her local Surco Club. Kim is noted for her quiet calm, and there is no better person to fill her role with Red Cross. Ladies and gentlemen, Kim Phillips. Let's give Kimberly another round of applause. As always, it's always a pleasure to be here, and I really do appreciate the commissioners inviting us here every year. It's so important to have volunteers in our community and to give of their time and talent, and these are only a few. We know there's very, very many volunteers that we could recognize tonight, but these are our special ones for this year, and I say thank you to them. Thank you to Randolph County for the folks that get out there and help, and there's always an opportunity to volunteer. Call the Volunteer Center. They will set you up in no time. Thank you, dear. Thank you.
We certainly want to say thank you to all these folks. And we sometimes recognize them and we say they're winners. In this instance, we're the winners. We're the winners that we have people in this county who every day volunteer of their time, their efforts, often at their expense and with their family's expense, and to make life better for those among us that need it the most. And this ceremony is just one part of the way of saying thank you to them. And there's so many others here who give of their time and talents and efforts for the same thing and the same causes. And it would wreck our budget if we had to hire all these people to do what they do every day in this county. I know Mark sees that. I know our folks at Public Health, Social Services, where they benefit also, and the clients that they serve. So we can never say thank you enough for the folks that help to make life easier and better for those in need. So do we have anyone for public comment? All right.
Beverly Mooney.
That's a really hard act to follow. What great citizens we have here. My goodness, I'm a little overwhelmed by the dedication, although we know it's out there. Guys, thank you for your time tonight. My name is Beverly Mooney, and myself and my husband are the owners and operators of Millstone Creek Orchards here in Randolph County. And I'm very happy to be here with you tonight. I am here to ask for your guidance and assistance and the necessary steps we need to allow the sale of beer and wine sales in the unincorporated parts of Randolph County. Millstone Creek Orchards has been part of the Randolph County community for more than 16 years, welcoming guests from our backyard, across the state, and beyond. Last year alone, we welcomed more than 30,000 visitors to our family farm. In addition to our agriculture operations, we rely heavily on agritourism activities to sustain our business when crops fail and we need to extend our season for our staff. The additional option of the sale of beer and wine during markets and events could provide us a much-needed revenue booster, crucial especially during lean seasons, such as the one we're in now, that Mother Nature didn't smile as much during the freeze we had back at Easter. It is our understanding that all cities and towns across Randolph County now allow the sale of alcohol within their city limits. We ask for the same opportunities in the unincorporated areas as well. The way it currently stands, other operations residing in city limits or even from other counties may sell alcohol on our property that are licensed accordingly, but we're not allowed to do the very same thing. Our hope is to get the same alcohol laws across all of Randolph County, no matter where you're located. My father bought our property in 1983. Now, we didn't start then. He saved for 20 years to make his dream come true, and that was owning a farm in Randolph County. He loved the property, and he loved to work it. One of his favorite things was the people that came out to our farm, and that was truly humbling. After his passing in 2015, I am blessed and proud to continue his work and what he started with honesty, integrity, and following the golden rule in which I was taught. It is our hope to be part of this community for decades to follow. Anything we can do, we try to be part of our community and by supporting organizations here, and we're very proud to say we're Randolph County strong. I thank you guys so much for your time tonight and allowing me to speak to you. And we hope to be here for many, many years to follow, and I welcome any questions or comments at this time.
Any comments, Commissioner? Thank you, Ms. Moon.
Thank you guys very much for your time. Yes.
So could you just briefly explain, what was the part about, so a vendor can come to, if you're having an event, a vendor can come and,
Yes, if you're inside of a city limit that allows alcohol sales, that they get where they can go out to festivals and they can sell alcohol there, even in the unincorporated parts. And we've had some come out and at different, like we do a run with the town of Ramsor. That's a community thing. We had a beer vendor come out, and they're able to sell on our property in unincorporated parts because they're licensed inside of city limits.
oh, okay.
Even to Greensboro, you could bring another county in. If their laws allow that and they have that license they need, they can come sell on our property. But we're not permitted to sell on our property.
Are you talking like a food truck?
No, sir. I mean, it could be from, we've had Four Saints out, and we've had a place in Greensboro come out before that it would just be another, it could be another beer vendor or something like that that would come out. But no, not a food truck.
But like a caterer or something like that.
It is, that they have their own little setups that do that, like at beer gardens. I know Archdale has a food truck festival rodeo coming up, and there would be people there that would be different vendors that were alcohol vendors, and usually beer and wine. And I know you can't do part of it, but we're obviously interested in the beer and wine component to it for what we do at our place.
As a customer out there, y'all do a good job. I mean, as far as a model for agritourism and agriculture, and y'all do a good job out there. And there's always, you know, you have all the amenities and do a good job, not just with the recreation side of it. So we appreciate what you do out there.
Well, we love what we do, and you have to love what you do to being a farmer anytime, I think. So, but thank everybody for their time tonight very much.
Thank you. Any others? All right. Consent agenda, you have that. There's several items on the consent agenda. I do want to say on the appointment to the Randolph County Aging Services Planning Committee, you noticed that, in particular, Lois Bonsack did not ask to be reappointed, and that leaves Archdale without a member on the Aging Services Planning Committee, and we do have a senior citizen center up there. But in talking with Mark, there is a vacancy, another vacancy on the board, so I have a couple of names that I haven't contacted yet, but I plan to, and maybe bring that next month, but just make you aware of that. So, any other questions on any of the consent agenda items? Anyone that you want taken out separately? Do I have a motion to approve?
Will we approve the consent agenda?
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kennedy?
Have a second?
Second?
Those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those no, and the consent agenda is approved. Now, new business, our first item is to introduce our new Randolph County Health Director tonight. Marty Trotter, Chairman of our Public Health Board, is here to do the honors. I know Commissioner Haywood is our representative on the Health Board. She might want to have a comment also, I expect. So she's been all involved in this process. So Marty, welcome.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Fry and fellow commissioners. Tonight, on behalf of the Board of Health, I have the privilege to introduce to you Tara Aker. Before I get started, I do want to thank Hal Johnson and a couple of his staff members who have been very instrumental in helping me through this process, because it was brand new to us. And so Mr. Johnson and Jill Williams, as well as Amy Scott, was very helpful to me in that process, so I appreciate them helping out. I think we've got a fellow board member, Marianne Evans, is with us tonight. I didn't see anybody else, but we also have some public health department staff, as well as the former health director with us tonight. And Susan, we appreciate you being here to support Tara this evening. Tara Aker obtained her BS degree from Bob Jones University in 1998 in foods and nutrition. In 2006, she obtained her master's of public health, public administration from the University of Greensboro, North Carolina at Greensboro. She started with the health department in 2005, in July of 2005, as an environmental health specialist. She stayed in that role for 9 years and then became the environmental health supervisor, replacing Karen Allen, who has been a long time with that department as well, in 2014. She remained in that role until January of 2016, when she became the assistant local health director. I have sat through in my careers many, many interviews, and I would say in the hundreds over my time. And the interview that we had with Tara Aker was one of the very best I'd ever sit in. She was very cool, calm, and collected that evening, so I commend her for that. Outside of the public health arena, Tara has been involved with the State Employees Credit Union Advisory Board, the Randolph Health Ethics Committee, Randolph Rotary Club, Randolph County Aging Services Planning Committee, the Regional Consolidated Services Head Start Policy Council, as well as NC Works Career Center Partnership Team. We are pleased, and we were very happy to announce that Tara Aker would be our new director. Again, she had one of the very best interviews of that evening. But one thing in particular, and that goes back to the work that Susan Hayes has done for many years, as she brought in Tara as an assistant director, she exposed her to all areas of public health. We did not see that in the other interviews, and that's what really stood out and made Tara rise to the very top of our list very quickly after we interviewed her. So if you will join me tonight, and I would like to introduce and congratulate Tara Aker as our new Randolph County Local Health Director. So Tara, if you come up. Tara's been on the job since June 1. We met, the timing was so that we had to meet towards the end of May, and so we interviewed at the end of May, and we also went ahead and swore her in so that she would be, I guess, official on June 1st. The good sign is this is day 7, and she's come back every day, so we appreciate that. So, Tara, do you want to say anything?
I just want to quickly say thank you to you, Marty, and the board. You all have been so supportive. I obviously have to thank Susan Hayes, because without her, I don't think I would be here. I've also got to say thank you to, we have an awesome team. I know Susan has said it more than one time, but we do have an awesome team, and a good number of them are here, back over on this side, back there. So I'm excited about the opportunity. It is a little bit scary, but I've got this with the team that I've got behind me. I know Susan's just a phone call away. So I do appreciate the support, and I do look forward to the opportunity that you guys have entrusted me with.
I'd just like to say, for those that are here in the audience and also for anybody that might be listening at home, it is important for you to understand that the Board of Health was committed to finding the best, most highly qualified candidate. So if that candidate was within, yes. But if the candidate was not within, our commitment was to finding the candidate who was the most highly qualified, most capable. And so we selected 4 candidates to interview. And Tara was last, and it is not that somebody else did poorly. It's just that when Tara came in, it was obvious that she was the most highly qualified candidate, and that she spoke not from having studied and prepared information, but from her wealth of experience across the whole spectrum of public health. And so with the vaccines and the pandemic we've been through, some of you will think about communicable disease, but there's so much more to public health than that. And Tara spoke like she knew each component of public health. And
I was like, when she talked about how she got into public health and environmental health and deciding that's what she wanted to do when she was waiting tables down at Captain Tom's, I thought, who in their right mind wants to do public health and environmental health? I mean, public health, yeah, but environmental health? Who wants to do that? Who wants to inspect swimming pools, and who wants to, do restaurants and tell people you gotta close or you're getting a B sanitation grade and you're getting bad press? And it's like, oh, she loved it. And I thought, oh, okay, whatever. But seriously, she was the most qualified candidate, and I will have to echo what Marty said. That goes to Tara, that goes to her ability, to her work ethic, her passion for Randolph County and Randolph County citizens, but it also goes to the leadership before her, and I genuinely mean that. So for anybody sitting out here who is a leader, if you are doing the best job possible, then you should be preparing somebody behind you to step into your shoes, if that time comes. And so I have to echo my appreciation for that, because Tara had been very well prepared.
Thank you.
So thank you, Susan, and thank you very much, Tara. It's been a pleasure to work with you already, and I look forward to continuing to be that commissioner on the Board of Public Health and working alongside you. And thanks to all our Board of Health workers, our public health workers out here, because you do indeed make them look good. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Hope.
Tara, thank you, let me say on behalf of the board and myself personally, and I thank you for your perseverance. I hope this has been your goal, stay around for 16 years
It has.
to have
It
this
has.
time.
I told them, I think I've shown that I'm committed to Randolph County.
And I think it's good that we have a succession here. I've been here a pretty good while, and we've had great leadership in the Department of Health here, and very little turnover, and a good succession, and that speaks well for the department.
Thank you. And
I know
I'll
you'll
give
carry
it
on.
my best shot.
And I say to Susan, thank you for bringing her along and getting her all involved. And also, I thought maybe about a year ago Susan would quit. I didn't know which one of us will give up first. But we thank her she brought us through, and here we are in a little better circumstances and a little safer. And so I think she can go off with a little more peace of mind. And we wish you the best too, Susan, for your future. And Tara, we welcome you, and we're here to work with you.
Thank you.
And all of you here tonight from the Department of Health to observe, we thank you for what you do every day for this county and its citizens.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Victoria Witt from Sand Hills Mental Health is going to give us our annual report.
Good evening. I am Victoria Witt. I'm the CEO of Sand Hill Center, and I'm very pleased to be here tonight. Last year, I missed every county commission presentation because of COVID. I can't tell you how happy I am that I am able to be here and with all of our counties during this year. Before I start, I'd like to publicly thank this Commission Board for their appointment of Commissioner David Allen to the Sand Hill Center Board. Commissioner Allen is a faithful member of the board, serves on our Finance Committee, oftentimes chairs the Finance Committee. Also, Maisie Fleetwood and Leanne Hinkle are the other two Randolph County representatives on the Sand Hill Center Board. Unfortunately, as you've seen in your your minutes tonight or in your agenda, Maisie and Leanne have served their 3 terms, so they will be rotating off of the board, and we are looking forward to the appointment of other people that this commission will be making to the board. Randolph County is well represented, and I appreciate everything these 3 members and this commission does for Sand Hill Center. The official reason I'm here tonight is to present our county general funding allocation. Every year I come before you to present that. On March 9th, our board met and made the decision for the 17th year in a row not to request any additional funding from any of our 9 counties. So that means the request I'm putting in tonight is the same one that we have had over these years, and that is $844,000. I'll remind you that in 2012, Sand Hill Center took on the management of Medicaid. Because of that, we have been able to save quite a bit of funding to reinvest back into the community, so that has allowed us not to request or require any additional funding from our counties or from the state. The Medicaid money has really assisted us. So that is my request tonight, $844,000. I'll remind you that all of that money stays right here in Randolph County, just like the other 8 counties. Their money stays in their county too. That funding goes to support indigent care at Daymart Recovery. It's even more important now, and I'm going to talk in a few minutes about the new program, but it's even more important because that funding helps us serve people who do not have Medicaid or third-party insurance, not only outpatient, but now at the new behavioral health urgent care and the facility-based crisis center. So once again, your funding stays here to help support services for folks who do not have insurance. When we took on Medicaid, we also were able to save funding, and you will see that demonstrated in our fund balance. I know every quarter you receive information about our fund balance. So that is the savings that we have realized as a result of the Medicaid management of those dollars. Our requirement is that those funds be plowed back into the community. And here in Randolph County, we have entered into an agreement with the Randolph County Schools to provide staffing for behavioral health issues, and we have worked with your sheriff to provide clinicians out at the detention center. And probably the greatest example of how we have used those funds is in the new facility here in Asheboro. So those funds, once again, the Medicaid funds have really helped us be able to grow services in each of our communities. Also in your packet, I want to go over just a few highlights for you. Also in your packet, you have the dashboard. We always give this to you. Unfortunately, we haven't had our community breakfasts this year because of COVID, but this is what we usually go over with you. If you look at this, you will see that Randolph County, just like all of our counties in 2020, had a slight dip in the number of people served. That's because it took a while to get telepsychiatry, telehealth. 2020 was COVID year, so we did see a dip in the number of people served. That's not particular to Randolph County. It happened across our 9 counties. You will also notice that there are 335 providers who deliver services to Randolph County residents, and we are able to bring in about $30.8 million into Randolph County to serve your folks that have Medicaid. So this is just a snapshot of the county. Also, I want to take this opportunity to brag a little bit about CIT. Randolph County continues a very strong CIT program, both with your police department and your sheriff's department. Our next CIT, we had to cancel a few because of COVID, but the next CIT here will be November 15th through 19th. And if anybody can free up some time on your schedule to attend a portion of that CIT, we would welcome you so you can get a better feel for what goes on with the, and for those who don't know, CIT stands for Crisis Intervention Training. It started out for just law enforcement, but now it's expanded to any kind of first responder, be it 911, or rescue, EMS, any first responders. And Randolph County to date has, we have trained 137 individuals in Randolph County. The Randolph Community College is a great partner of ours, along with NAMI in providing these trainings to law enforcement. Also, you see in the handout that we serve on many of the boards here in Randolph County and continue to provide mental health first aid training. I want to talk just a little bit about the new facility. It opened in March, about mid-March. You know, we had some construction problems, which I will not go into right now. Took a while to get up and running, but now it is open, and I brought just a few figures to share with you tonight. You'll remember that building over there now has 3 different activities going on. The first level is the 24-hour assessment and observation chairs. There are 12 chairs over there for children and adults where 24/7 people can go in voluntarily or be brought in, assessed, and stay in a chair for up to 23 hours. That is hopefully long enough for some conditions to subside or to, for the person to get better. To date, for half of March, all of April, and May, 605 people have been served at that facility. 87% of the people served were Randolph County, 11% were from one of the other Sand Hill Center counties, and then 2% were from outside counties, and that would be folks from a non-Sand Hills county that was in crisis that somehow found their way in, and legally those folks have to be treated also. So that program is going really well. It's ramping up. We are very pleased with it. We are watching payment source. You know, that's real important because folks that don't have Medicaid, we do have to identify the funding. And the breakdown there, we're pleased to say, is 38% of the people admitted had Medicaid, and Medicaid paid for the service. 42% were indigent, meaning state dollars or county dollars paid. And then the remainder, 20% had insurance, Medicare, some other payer source. Once again, that's something we watch closely. Now, the second floor is the outpatient services that's been there all these years. The third floor is the facility-based crisis center, which is a 16-bed locked unit for adults. To date, that facility has served 109 individuals. 29% of those were Medicaid. The others were indigent and required additional funding. Now, I will mention that the facility-based crisis program has not been approved yet by the state to take involuntary commitments. So that will also bring additional opportunities for folks to be served there. The way it works in North Carolina, to take involuntarily committed folks, you have to be approved by the state. So we are still waiting on that. So that program is going well. We are getting ready to open the child equivalent of this program in Rockingham, and we are also opening another facility in Greensboro for children and adults. So I wanted to provide that information to you. A couple of other things to go through. You have our annual report, which goes through happenings at Sand Hill Center. And then lastly, I wanted to cover Medicaid Transformation 101. In your packet, you have this one-pager, which was the first time I had seen this explained as easily as it is. So I'm sharing this with all the county commissioners. As you know, we have been talking about Medicaid transformation happening since 2015. It's getting ready to happen July 1st of this year. I'm sure your DSS and your health department have been involved and kept you informed of this. I think from a behavioral health perspective, what you need to know is that after July 1st, behavioral health issues will not only be managed by Sand Hill Center, there will be 5 private insurance companies that will also be managing Medicaid benefits for a certain part of the population. The other big change that's going to happen for Sand Hill Center is that in a year from now, 2022, we will be evolving into something called a tailored plan, meaning we will be focused not only on the behavioral health needs of a certain population, we will be responsible for managing the physical health and the pharmaceutical services for that population. So once again, I wanted you to have this Medicaid transformation handout and just make you aware that everything seems to be on track for that transition to happen. So that's a lot of information. I'm going to stop there and be happy to answer any questions or comments you have either about my budget request or anything else I've presented.
I think you might have a familiar face on your board next time.
Okay.
And Leanne Hinkle, she's on there by, her position was CFAC.
Right. She
But
is,
we still appoint her replacement.
what needs to happen, and I know our CFAC and Leanne are working on that. It would need to be done kind of hand in hand.
Right.
The appointment would have to come from the county commissioners, but probably a recommendation would come up through CFAC.
Okay. Well, you'll take care of that? Or
Yes,
do
we are currently working with Leanne on potential people.
We'll take care of the other one. I think it's pretty well on the way, so.
Yeah, I think you'll be pleased with that.
Okay, great.
Talked to her this afternoon. She's all excited. So. All right.
I would say that I appreciate what Victoria and her staff does. A lot of the LME-MCOs do not have as good a relationship with their counties as Sand Hills does, and I think it's because of the job that she and her staff do in providing the services. And so we're very appreciative that you're there for us. We're appreciative of the investment that's been made here in the county with the facility-based crisis center, and we're excited for. I guess I'm trying to say that your job is never easy, because I've been on the board, I think, about 6 years, and it's been a constant turmoil as far as mental health the entire time, and that goes back before then with the transitions from the county mental health departments over to Sand Hills. So never a dull moment when you're talking about mental health and the Sand Hills and the folks there. So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
I know things are a little in upheaval right now. I was at our Council of Government meeting last week, and one of our members seated beside me is part of Cardinal, and I think everybody's fixing to jump ship there, starting with Mecklenburg, I believe. They're a big county, but I guess we might pick up a couple or something here, so that'd be good.
Yes, we, as Commissioner Allen is aware, we have been approached by a couple of
he and I-
counties
he and I have
that
been
we will be talking with.
I know that was a fellow from Rockingham County, so they're kind of be in the middle up there. All right.
Got
Any
one
other
more-
questions?
One more question. Did I understand you to say that beginning in 2022, you would manage behavioral, physical, and pharmaceutical needs?
Absolutely. That's part of the Medicaid transformation, which is whole person care. We will be managing fewer people than we manage now because the folks with mild and moderate behavioral health issues will be managed by the private folks. We will manage the more severe folks, but we will manage their whole person care. And we will do that through contracts and partnerships with physical health providers, and we will also be approving the pharmacy charges. That's a whole person care approach.
The number of eligibles right now is about I think it's a little high, but about 190,000.
Right.
And under the tailored plans, it's going to drop significantly, but the
Right.
per member per month reimbursement, but allocation will be higher, so.
Right, because the folks will be more severe, the reimbursement will be higher to cover physical health and pharmacy.
And that's part of the constantly changing landscape of mental health, physical health, the combined whole health, so.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
Victoria.
I'm going to go home tonight and look over this 736 pages of Medicaid contracts that we got approved tomorrow night. Okay?
All right. Aging Services, Mark Hensley.
Chairman Fry, County Commissioners, and Senior County Staff, I come before you this evening as the Chairman of the Aging Services Planning Committee of Randolph County to share the committee's recommendations for fiscal year 2021-2022 under the Home and Community Care Block Grant. As a reminder, the Home and Community Care Block Grant is the funding program of both the federal and state government under the Older Americans Act. In your packet, the first document that you will see, which came out from Adrienne Calhoun, if you go to page 3, indicates that Randolph County has been awarded $838,742 for the new fiscal year, which represents a slight increase of $8,793 over the current fiscal year amount of $829,949. If you will recall, at last year's presentation, the Aging Services Planning Committee recommended a 2-year contract for block grant services be awarded to Regional Consolidated Services and Randolph Senior Adults Association. Fiscal year 2021-2022 represents year 2 of that 2-year contract. The second handout that you have that's from the Aging Services Planning Committee lists the services that will be provided under the block grant for the new fiscal year: adult daycare, congregate nutrition, home-delivered meals, information and options counseling, and transportation. These services will continue to be provided by Randolph Senior Adults. In-home aid, levels 1, 2, and 3, and housing and home improvement, and these services will continue to be provided by Regional Consolidated Services. With a Randolph County award amount of $838,742, the Aging Services Planning Committee recommends to you for board approval the following amounts: Randolph Senior Adults, $548,287. Regional Consolidated Services, $290,455, for again a total Randolph County allocation of $838,742. These allocation amounts were unanimously approved by the Aging Services Planning Committee at its April 27th meeting, and we are recommending these for your approval this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have and appreciate your consideration.
Any questions for Mark? What's the pleasure of the board? When will you start bidding on the next 2 years? A year from now?
Well, we will do that for the budget season next year. I think Aging Services will likely recommend a 3-year contract next year because that aligns. We will be, Randolph Senior Adults will be up for another food contract, and those are typically 3-year contracts, so it would measure closely together. So.
All right. Any other questions?
I make a motion that we approve.
All right, have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion or questions? Those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and it's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you.
Okay, item D is J. Dale, Planning Board Matters. This issue's getting a lot of play right now.
A little surprised at it. It's one of those things you read it, and it's like, did I read that right? Chairman Fry, members of the board, good evening. On May 4th, 2021, the Randolph County Planning Board met and heard a resolution against House Bill 401 and Senate Bill 455. At that meeting, they voted to recommend to the Randolph County Board of County Commissioners to adopt the 2 resolutions against the 2 proposed pieces of legislation. I'm sure the board's had a moment to look over it. You said it's getting some play now. 401, there's a number of things in it that are of concern, not the least of which is it appears that if this passes, we would not be zoning for residential purposes anymore. There would just be a residential zone, and within that you could put a duplex, a triplex, a quadplex, a townhouse, all of which now require a residential mixed zoning. In the case of a duplex, you can also put those in RA or E1. And they have what they refer to as an accessory dwelling unit, and when we look at that, it's, as best I can tell, just the ability to stick another house in your backyard. I think this is a bad piece of legislation for a number of reasons, but not the least of which is it's hard to do much in the line of any sort of long-range countywide planning if you have an area that's not really in your control anymore. And as the system currently exists, it's a really good one that we zone because it allows the general public to speak to these things. We have public hearings. They come out. We learn a lot of things. I've been in 4 mini subdivisions, then after hearing the public speak, realized I missed a number of things that had a bearing on it, and it allowed them their quote-unquote day in court. But that is basically the gist of 401 and what I believe the problems with it are. There's some things that are a little vague. I know it says that it only applies to, if I'm reading this right, areas with a public water system, but if you look, it also says, or may have one. Well, there is Davidson water, so I guess anywhere they touch and could feasibly touch in the future would definitely fall under this. And I have been contacted by Jill Wood, who represents a number of the smaller municipalities in Randolph County, and she works with Bobby Wilhoit on this. They don't really look at 401 as a very favorable thing either. Cities would just lose control altogether, basically, of their ability to zone for residential purposes. So the planning board voted to send a resolution to the legislature against that one. The second one is not as a big a piece of legislation, but it's still interesting in that Senate Bill 455 is called a bill as an act to decriminalize non-statutory criminal offenses and violations, which, you know, just to read the title seems benign enough. But if you read down, currently a zoning violation can be handled as a Class 3 misdemeanor with fines, you know, of up to $500. This is usually enough to motivate most people, and you know, it's worked well for us. If this passes, then it would just, these zoning violations would simply be considered an infraction, and the fine would be $50. And as I understand, that's just sort of it. I don't think that that's going to motivate anybody to do much of anything. In fact, I think when I started this job many years ago and I was the code enforcement officer, we actually moved some standalone ordinances into our unified development ordinance so we could put bigger fines on them. I think one of them was litter. We found for $50 that yours truly here would be picking the garbage up off the road. They would just ignore it, no problem. You start to hit them with $500 and up, and that they would come out and clean it up, or at least be more likely to. Also, with a fine of only $50, you know, if they don't pay, I suppose we could, you know, have Ben take care of it. He does a wonderful job for us. But Ben's not free, and it's probably going to cost me more than $50 to motivate him to go to court, and I understand that. Point being, it sort of reaches a point of when do you go after them, or do I just go around with the truck again and just, you know, get the garbage? So this is another one of those things that this one I don't even really know what the background of it is. I'm not sure why this was thought to be a good idea, but once again, the planning board looked at it and decided it was not, and hoped that you would agree with them. That's a very brief overview of these two things, but we hope you vote to support these resolutions, and so that we can send them on to our legislators and that they will hopefully act appropriately. Thank you.
I noticed in your narrative that, Jay, you referenced the Farmwood subdivision out there. I was talking to one of those folks today.
Yes, sir.
They're closely watching this legislation, but the issue we went through with them wouldn't be anything like what could happen if this thing passes.
No, this is a bad thing.
We wouldn't have that hearing.
Yeah.
No, the sanctity of neighborhoods would be gone.
Absolutely. I'm sure the board remembers the one we recently looked at.
We could only sit and watch it happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It would be determined, I guess, by market forces is the idea. I don't know.
And I'm not sure our legislators are fully up to date on the severity of these two bills.
Well,
I know the municipalities have sent resolutions and voiced their concerns, so has our state association.
Mr. Chairman, this would be a disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It'd completely take away anything that you try to do to make things good for the citizens of the county. It'd be a total disaster to try to do that.
Triad Board of Realtors voted to support it.
To support it?
Yes.
To support it?
Yeah, they wouldn't have to ask us anything.
Oh, okay.
That'd be
They just go do it.
free for all and no.
Right.
That's
Just go
another
do it.
remove a limitation on.
They don't have to get rezoning. They don't have to do anything.
no, sir.
Just do it. That's right. All right. Any other discussion, questions?
I just think it would take away any local control.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's municipality, whether it's county, it takes that away, and it's all in the hands of, the state, and I don't think that's wise. I don't think the state needs to make those decisions.
I guess the question in my mind is, who thought this up?
I really don't know. The first I ever heard of anything like this was several years ago, but it was more in California, Oregon, out west, where they tend to carry out more of these types of, social experiments. And I was genuinely surprised when I saw it pop up here. Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the
If
resolution?
you would permit me, having spent my years on
Sure did.
planning and zoning, I would like to make a motion that we oppose this bill, or these bills.
That would be by adopting
Pass this resolution.
the resolution.
Yes.
Have a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. Further comments or discussion?
Well, I know we usually probably do that, but let's make sure our local delegation gets a copy of our fee.
Oh, absolutely, they will.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
In this first thing in the morning.
yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Comment.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm sorry. We'll vote on it.
Jay, I got another question.
Yes, sir.
After we do.
I need one.
Oh, we got to vote.
Any other questions? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it passes.
Yes, sir.
One of the planning board members mentioned that y'all might be looking at some revisions maybe to some of our land use policy after that last rezoning issue that came up and issues. Have you started anything or?
The 160D process, yes. Tim Mangum gave them a very thorough briefing on that. These are changes that are being mandated by the state of North Carolina. I will be presenting those to this board at their next meeting. And if it works for Hal, we can do a work session on the in-between to have Tim go over the changes, you know, specifically. It's a lot of stuff. It was really worth the board's time to do that. Tim did a good job. They'll be voting on it tomorrow, and you know, after he went through it and explained that the state was going to, you know, mandate these changes, including DOT involvement in subdivision development, which, you know, Hal will tell you, we've wanted that for a long time, and until, you know, recently they were just sort of like, well, whatever you guys want to do, you know, but now they're willing to give us professional opinions and everything, and that will be coming up at your next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, the Northgate project, action?
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Here to present the results of the bids for the Northgate project. I wanted to start off just doing a quick overview. The area that we're talking about is in the corner of the development, next to Pip Printing. This is the space that was vacated by Dollar General. We're basically splitting the space in half. If you're standing in the parking lot, the right side would be going to the criminal division of the sheriff's office. The left-hand side half would be going to the child support. And basically both sides just has a central hallway with a bank of offices on both sides. All right, here's a rendering from architect. They're basically just making it match what was done at Board of Elections and Adult Day Reporting. Here's the estimate for the budget estimate from April. And at that time, we were estimating $1,475,000. Unfortunately, prices have been on the rise since this time. We did go a little above that. Fortunately, though, we had good competition. We had 12 contractors that submitted bids. The lowest responsible bidder was to S&S Building and Development out of Greensboro. Their base bid and alternates combined came to a total of $1,270,661. Putting those numbers into our budget and updating it, and keeping all the other prices the same, we come to a total of $1,500,000. I'm sorry, I'm my glasses.
$1,539,661.
Yes. Which I need to make a correction. When I give you my agenda memo, I listed $38,000 increase, but that was just based off of the base bid. That did not include the alternates. So when you include the alternates, that brought the increase from the estimate $64,000 higher, which is not great, but with the prices being like they are, if we hadn't had such good competition, I think we probably could have been even higher The architect was told from one of the bidders that his mechanical costs alone increased $100,000 back from April to when he put his bid in. So unfortunately, between steel, glass, and mechanical units have really been on the rise. Good news is we did have good competition, and the price is within the budget, the overall budget, which y'all have previously approved of $2 million. So talking with the architect, there's no indications that prices are coming down. They may level off, but I don't think they're coming down anytime soon. So my recommendation would be that we go ahead and move forward. With that said, I would ask that you accept alternates 1 through 4, that you award a contract to S&S Building and Development in the amount of $1,270,661 for the renovation of the Northgate Commons, and that you authorize the county manager to sign the contract. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Have you worked with S&S before on any other projects?
No, I have not.
I just noticed that Granco was about there were kind of two bids that were right there together, and they were about 7,000 high.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I asked about the possibility of going with Granco. I talked with RCC, who did do a project with S&S, and they didn't have very good results. The project did not meet schedule, and they ended up having to go over into another semester. However, I didn't have enough information basically to rule them unresponsible. And they've made some changes since. I mean, I think they've changed some management, so the problems that they had at the RCC project may have been just a one-time. Hopefully they've been corrected since then. And either way, I mean, we're going to be looking after the work. We've got an architect looking after making things are done according to the drawings, and it should
What
be.
sort of problems did they have? Shoddy work, late finishing? What?
It was late finishing, and I think from what I've been told is that company has like another division that does glass, and for whatever reason, that glass division was more involved in their renovation project than they typically would have been. I don't know if they were maybe using the superintendent from the glass side for the construction, but for whatever reasons, they did have some problems, and it did push the project out, caused them to have to put some temporary classrooms. However, I think they've made some changes since that time. I don't think their glass division is.
Do we have any history with Granco?
Yeah, Granco did all the other work up there. That's sort of why my first thought was to try to go with Granco.
You can't go back to them?
No, we have to go with the lowest responsible bidder. Otherwise, we have to rebid it.
How meaningful is responsible?
I guess it's a, what you call it, low bar or high bar to rule someone unresponsible. You'd have to prove it. And we got some evaluations on the state projects they've done. And although Granco's overall rating was a lot higher, their only poor rating was from the RCC job. All the others, their only poor rating on the state jobs was the RCC project. All the others were either adequate or satisfactory or a couple excellent. So.
Do we have a completion date contractually?
Yes, yeah, that's in the contract. I think it was around 300 days. So they'll have to meet that. And we do have liquidated damages if they don't meet it.
It's going to take a year? Close to it?
Close to it. Now, once that's just the architects, and that's what the contract calls for. Once they develop their schedule, they may come in and be able to do it in 6 months.
Some of that may depend on building materials availability too. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that plays into that, and ultimately, by contract, they'll have to do it within those 300 days. Right. But if they can do it quicker, I'm sure they'll want to, because time's money for them.
It should be I'm not an architect, but it should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty basic. It's just interior remodeling.
All right. Any other comments or questions for Paxton? All right. The question before us is a motion to award the contract to S&S Building, well, accept the alternates 1 through 4 and award the contract to S&S Building in the amount of $1,270,661,000. Authorize the county manager to sign the contract.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Further discussion or questions? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And it's approved.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. All right, American Rescue Plan Act. Al?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is really a follow-up to last month when I gave the board a detailed update on the American Rescue funds that the county was anticipated. We have received the first payment of $13,952,816. That's, we'll later in another year receive the rest of that for a total of $27,863,330. Tonight, there is a resolution to set up what we're calling the Coronavirus Resource Fund, where we'll actually put that $13.9 million. That's a special revenue fund that's not connected to the general fund. It'll be a separate account out there for the specific uses that are allowed by the Department of the Treasury for these recovery funds. So tonight, it would be, we need to talk just a little about the process that we want to use in deciding how that first allocation is used. The key to that is to remember that the funds are tied to a lot of areas of our economy that were impacted by the coronavirus, hopefully in areas of infrastructure and tourism, that we can allocate some of this money that will help us recover from the effects of the coronavirus. And this is an opportunity tonight for the board to kind of talk about what process you want to use moving forward to determine how we'll use that first allocation that we have. And also attached is the resolution that establishes the Coronavirus Resource Fund, where we have put that first allocation in the county. I mean, Mr. Chairman, you were going to.
Well, we've had some conversation about Commissioner Allen and I work with Will and the manager to develop a list, not so much a bucket list, but just a list of areas or where we think that these funds can be used, and then have a full meeting of the Board of Commissioners to discuss those requests. Take it out, add to it, whatever. But we now have the hospital in play for sure to close out, so those funds will be needed shortly. That's a public purpose, but also tourism, travel. That was one of our hardest hit areas in the county. We're all over the country. The people stayed home, didn't travel, so we have several areas there, and we've had some requests from municipalities also. So that's sort of what we're suggesting, to have us a working list so the board as a whole can go through it and see, again, what we want to do, what add to it, take away.
I guess we'd look at a special meeting in July.
I would think after we get through the budget,
Right.
We'll have a special meeting to do that.
Mr. Chairman, there was at one time, I think, and I'd like for you to kind of clarify it if you would, some thought that we could only use it for like water and sewer projects, but I don't think that's the case.
No, not in some of the literature we have here dispels that. I think Asheboro actually, I don't know if they got through the League of Municipalities, if they got different guidelines, but somewhere along the line, as a matter of fact, the mayor said to me that they could only use it for water and sewer projects, but that's not the way I read this. So that's their business. We're trying to conduct ours. But I know that is one of the issues that we have is infrastructure. And so I was interested in Dr. Shackelford's report when he presented last week his budget request and all the many things that you use CARES Act money for. I think you had about $15 million, wasn't it, Bob? It was a pretty lengthy list of the ways you use that money at the community college. So I'm sure this money is a little different from CARES Act, but it's still stimulus money sent to help ignite, invigorate, hire, pay people in the recovery. So there's a general purpose there. Of course, we got a lot more of the Recovery Act money than we did CARES Act money. So we got more money to spend, but I think that means we need to be even more careful about what we do with it and how to get the most benefit out of it and to benefit the citizens of the county. I think that's got to be an overriding effort on our part to how do we put it back in the county? The folks that maybe were out of work for a while, maybe didn't go back to work. I don't know if that's a question today because these job openings, everybody's got out a help wanted sign everywhere you go. But I just think that's, and we still have some clarification yet to come from Treasury, and we need to have that before we get too deep into it also.
Well, it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity.
That's right. I don't know that anybody's ever going to give us $28 million again. So.
Well, you know, we at least I have mixed feelings. I think it's a lot of money, but I'd rather us spend it than send it back and have somebody else spend it.
Absolutely.
But it is once-in-a-generation type opportunity, and we need to be careful with it. We've got some time. We don't have to be spent until 2024.
2024.
By December of 24, it has to be encumbered.
Encumbered. So, and the other issue I think that I've got is with the state's got their pot of funds to spend as well, and that makes sure that we coordinate what they're doing versus what we're doing, because we don't want to somehow dump some money here and not there, and where the state comes in and overrides. So I think the coordination with our municipalities, with the state, it needs to be thought about too. So I know a lot of folks have been a little bit more anxious to get started, but I think maybe being a little bit deliberate and taking our time with this might be to our benefit.
Agree.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman, Will pointed out, and I think he's right, the monies that come to the municipalities come through the state.
Yes.
And what their definition of what they want you to do and what ours is two different things.
Right. Our money came directly from the feds to the county. And the municipalities' money went to the state, and then they distributed it on a population basis to all the municipalities. But you heard us say the county's getting just a little bit less than $28 million. There's another $16 million going to the 9 municipalities, incorporated areas in Randolph County. So there's about $44 million of money coming into Randolph County, the county, and our municipalities to spend. Now, this is a little bit of my personal comment here, but I think the intent of the money was to stir the economy, get things revved up, get people back to work, areas where they were hit and hurt the worst, suffered, bring them back up to current status. It's to me, it's a little bit of, it's the old saying, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. So how we can use the money to our benefit, and our being the county as a whole, and the things that confront us. The biggest issue we have right now, dollar-wise, is the monies that supposedly a loan for the new buyers of the hospital. And I would say, well, I'll save that for later. Further discussion. The issue before us right now is just to create this coronavirus. Now, this sheet here for our motions, it says response fund. It is a resource fund. So whoever reads the motion, please note that.
Mr. Chairman, I move we create the coronavirus response fund ordinance and approve the associated resolution.
Change that to resource.
Resource, I'm sorry.
Yep. Second. Have a second by Commissioner Kidd. Further discussion or comments, folks?
Will doesn't have enough funds to deal with. We'll create another one for him.
He's never had a situation like this before. All right, those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And it's approved. Okay. Next is agenda item G, the sale of property at auction.
Right. Amy Scotton, Deputy County Attorney Amy Scotton, came before you last month, and you passed a resolution that authorized a foreclosed property up on Lake Dar Road to be sold at auction. This was about a half acre of land up on the Lake Dar Road. It had been foreclosed on by the county in 1982, and had no one had been interested in the sale or purchase of that property, so it was foreclosed on again in May. Received no bidders then, and Amy held the auction. The adjoining property owner has submitted a bid of $500 for the property, and that you have a resolution if you will accept that bid, which will put this property back on the tax rolls.
Questions? I think, as Hal mentioned, Amy presented this to us last month, and it would come back this month. So anybody have any new questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution accepting the high bid for the property.
Thank you, Commissioner. Second. All right, further discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and it is approved. That completes our agenda tonight. Anyone have a commissioner's comment? I do want to say to those of you that are still here and who are still with us on YouTube or Facebook, I would say that the bankruptcy court last Friday morning approved the purchase of Randolph Hospital by American Healthcare Systems. So effective July 1, there is a requirement to give the hospital regulators a 30-day notice of sale of the hospital. When the notice was sent to the regulators Friday afternoon, they also asked that timeline be reduced so the closing could occur by July the 1st. Unless something happened this afternoon, I don't know that question has been answered. If not July 1st, right after the 4th, which is on a Sunday, July the 5th or 6th, the sale should be completed. So we do have a buyer. I think the good thing is we now have a place, we know we have a place to deliver our ambulances, deliver folks with emergencies. Our employees at the hospital know they have a place to come to work every day. Our hospital is open. More importantly, the citizens of the county know that we now have a hospital. We have a hospital that will be here with us. So it's been a long process, but the light's a lot brighter today than it's been in a long time. But the sale, there was another bidder, but they, when the court realized it was only about $500,000 difference, and when they'd have to go through a feasibility study, the UNC study, the local government commission study, which could take 3 to 5 months, based on the experience we had. The court threw out that bid. So in effect, there were no additional bidders Friday morning for the hospital. So there'll be some more, and there'll be some more details coming, but the good thing is our buyer has been approved, and we will have, there might be some rebranding of that hospital. The cancer center, Cone will eventually build a brand-new cancer center. It must be built within 10 miles of the current cancer center. So that's all the issues that had to be resolved also by the Attorney General's office in order for this to all play out. So there's more to it, but that's the gist of it. The main thing is the courts have approved the buyer. They have agreed to sell, to the price, and the Unsecured Creditors Committee has accepted it, Bank of America has accepted it, so there should be no more actions to negate the sale of the hospital.
Mr. Chairman, the other thing is, this board has approved, and the local government commission has approved us to borrow up to 12 million. I think if you'd like to express that a little bit.
Yeah, the Rural Hospital Stabilization Fund was set up by the state of North Carolina in the amount of $20 million. We had it on good reason, including the agenda that was posted by the local government commission, that it was not going to be approved. So we reduced our ask based on the capital budget from the buyer of about $11.5 million. We reduced our ask to $12 million, and that got approved. In the agreement with the buyer, that $12 million is to be paid $3 million a year over 4 years. And it's a forgivable loan as long as they continue to provide the hospital services. And it is forgiven at 1/12 as they continue to provide the services that we need and require here at our hospital. I will tell you that the county commissioners get 2 seats on that board, and we also get to recommend 3 other seats on that board. So we have good control of the board, and we'll be involved in the business of the hospital as we go forward.
Thanks for expressing that, because I think, I'm not sure that those kind of details have been out. The other thing I want to say, and I think all of us know, you spent a bunch of time and effort and a lot of meetings.
A lot of that was waiting on somebody else to make a decision too. But, you know, but we have stayed together as a board. We have stayed together as a community. The county commissioners and the Ashburn City Council have stayed in concert. We hired our own attorney in this process. If y'all remember that at the outset, our attorney was in court. She and I were in court Friday morning for that process, and they've given us good service and good advice through this whole process as well. Thank you. Any other business to come before this board? Any other comments by the commissioner? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. We are adjourned.